Hello, beautiful souls. My name is Diane Lang from Wisdom of the Akashics. I'm an advanced Akashic record consultant, twin flame coach and mentor, and an online entrepreneur. And I just did this kick-ass video for you guys, and it did not save. I'm going to give you this message again because it's really important. And so I'm just really hoping that my streaming and everything keeps going. And, you know, I actually haven't done a twin flame video for a long time. I have stepped out of the community in a lot of ways, but I've also seen the need for information and support and guidance is actually increasing, because when I go into communities and groups like on Facebook, for example, one thing I notice is there's this huge amount of people that are in pain about their twin connection. A lot of them are, you know, what I call twin jumpers. So it's like, is this my twin? Is this my twin? Is this my twin? You know, that's something that you would really want to look at if that's happening to you, because there are things that happen to twins that are unique, that are not going to happen in any other relationship. You are a shared vibrational connection to one another if you're a true twin. And, you know, and there's the question, does everybody have a twin? Well, everyone has a masculine, feminine, energetic vibration. You are both. You are masculine and feminine. So in that sense, the answer is yes. You have a twin relationship. You have a twin connection in the sense that they are, you have a vibrational masculine match to you. They have a vibrational feminine match to you. A twin flame on the earth right now in the 3D in 2019, they're going to have a higher story that's taking place. You're part of a universal story. You're part of healing the planet. You're part of rising above conditional love. You're part of being a leader in understanding the vibrational and the energetic story. And if you think of everything third dimensionally, if you try to handle everything third dimensionally, if you only think that the twin relationship is physical and about the physical lifetime right now, you're probably possibly not actually in a true twin relationship, or you're missing the understanding and the deeper point. And it's part of the reason that so many people are in pain. It really actually is part of the reason, because you're seeing everything from a physical third dimensional standpoint. And frankly, the third dimensional world, there's a lot about it that is heavy, doesn't feel good, sucks. The masculine and feminine are in a lot of contrast, and a lot of twins are not awakened, and then a lot of them are mired in victim energy. So neither one of you will be doing and contributing the way that you really intended to, or that your soul agreed to. So what I want to talk to you guys about, and why I feel like I'm being called to kind of come back, I spent quite a bit of time over the last 2 years, you know, working on myself, working on my business, coming through some real dark night of the soul depression, helping other people, you know, trying to get my business going online. I work at home full time, and I'm really committed to be able to continue that. You manage and control a lot more about your life. And then you also are, you know, you don't get your security because you don't get your paycheck and stuff like that. So it can be, you know, some challenging, and it can be difficult to keep it all going. But what happened was, when my twin and I stopped seeing each other, because if you guys, any of you know my older videos, and you know that my twin used to go by my house 2 times a day would be the minimum. And that would be really unusual, like on a weekend. And on average, he would go by my house 6 to 8 times a day, up to 12 times a day. I actually have days where I would mark it off. I had a whiteboard and I would mark it off, because we could actually call each other in telepathically. Our average lead time was 6 to 12 seconds, where I would hear his name, or I would think about him, and then I would look up and he would pass by me, or he would do the same thing. He'd hear my name, or he'd think about me, and we'd end up at the same 4-way stop. So we were telepathically like connected in such a deep way. It really baffled him. And you know, it's interesting, neither one of us actually lives in town anymore, because I moved out of town, he moved out of town, and consistently we will still end up in the same parking lot at a corner together, in front of each other. Almost, I'd say 85% of the time I go to town, I will still run into him. And the look on his face, which used to just be, kind of more like happiness, and it's actually more like confusion and sadness now because of things that have happened, and he's decided at this point to stay where he is and all of that. But he gets this really literally goes like, and he gets this look on his face like that it's almost like he's in disbelief, and yet if we were talking, he wouldn't be in disbelief. And we used to say the universe will never let us forget about each other, and so I say that they're actually keeping their word and their commitment, and they're not letting us. Like, I can be in town in as little as 2 minutes and run into him, and he lives 15 miles or 20 miles east of town, and I live 22 miles west of town. So that distance is now between us. He used to have to drive by my house to go to work and back, but then he would go up and down and up and down, on his lunch hour, on his coffee breaks, because he was the manager, so he could jump in his truck and do that. But now it literally is divine timing and intervention that's taking place. What I said to a friend of mine recently, though, who knows a little bit about our story, and I said to her that if he actually looked happy when I saw him, it would be a lot easier to see him. He doesn't. He looks sad. He's sad for what's going on in his life, because I know some stuff that actually is going on in his life, and he's sad now that when he sees me, because I'm the reminder of the love that he didn't even know existed till we met. And that's 20 some odd years into a relationship with his partner, that he recognized he had never felt that way before. We knew immediately when we met something had happened to both of us. We both had love at first sight. He said, I knew the second I saw you, you were the woman I'm supposed to marry, because he'd been with his partner for 20 some years and never married. And it wasn't for lack of asking. He'd asked many times, maybe 5 is the number that comes to mind, and she said no each time. So he felt very, I think what word he would use, but it was like, I'm good enough to have 3 children with, but I'm not good enough to marry. And he made me promise that if I was coming in a relationship with him, that I was actually going to marry him, because he was not having it again. He was not going to have a woman he gave his entire heart and soul to, and wasn't good enough to marry him. And I'm like, if you were single, I'd marry you tomorrow, sweetheart. Tomorrow. I married him in my heart when I was about 20, because that's when I found out about him. And I remember feeling really sad, because I was like, does that mean I'm not going to actually meet him until I'm in my 50s? Because I was told that. That's why I always tell people, be careful what people plant in your mind. But she said, no, you actually will step in front of your true soul partner. You're going to be about 52 when it happens, which was correct 7 years ago. And, or I guess 51, 7 years ago for me now. And he was going to be younger. We would know immediately. Both of our lives would change. And I said to her, does that mean I'm going to be sad and single all my life? And she said, well, no, that's a choice. But your soul partner, and you could, in the meantime, you could marry, you could have a divorce, you could be widowed, you could stay single. There's lots of possibilities. So that's the part about somebody giving you information and not boxing yourself in, is that actually, it actually did impact me, though, for really giving my heart over to somebody else, because I felt like I actually truly believed that was actually going to happen too. I believed that I had somebody very intricate that was going to enter my life on a soul level. I mean, I was taking self-development, personal development, Reiki, and all of that in my 20s, which was in the 80s, and we were like people with funny hats back then. They would literally say, you should just put a tinfoil hat on your head the way you talk, Diane. And whereas now, this isn't the case anymore. It's actually really cool to see. There's still, a lot of people don't feel comfortable in the community of talking about certain things, or, talking about an energetic story, or what does it mean, the law of vibration or the law of attraction. And to me, the law of attraction is a third dimensional explanation versus understanding energy, quantum physics, and the law of vibration. And you are a vibrational energetic signature, as is your twin. And so you are, I heard somebody ask the other day in a discussion, does everyone have a twin? Well, the answer, and I actually agree with this answer, the answer that was given was everybody has a vibrational masculine feminine match. And in this lifetime, you're feminine. You're not feminine. And if you've had lots of lifetimes, you wouldn't have been feminine in all of them. I can assure you that. I've never seen an Akashic record where somebody had an entire feminine, one-sided story where they were never the masculine or the masculine in the story anyways. And so you have a vibrational match in that regard. I get it shown to me like the yin yang symbol, or the two hearts, the two-sided hearts, and that one is the masculine side and one is the feminine side. If you're on the earth right now, if you have a twin story that's taking place and you're conscious of it, and you're not a twin jumper, meaning that, you know, where's my, this is my twin, is that my twin, is he my twin, is she my twin, and this week it's this person and the next week it's that person, I would suggest that person is very third dimensional and possibly not having a twin on the earth. It doesn't mean, though, you know, if you believe in the higher story that you have a vibrational masculine match, that means everybody does have a twin. And so being on the earth and at this important time, being part of the collective, bringing the higher story forward, working towards the energy of the unconditional love, understanding that you may have a soul agreement that you wanted to be in union in this lifetime, but physical, third dimensional free will trumps everything. Somebody can absolutely intend to be in union with their twin in this lifetime. They could come here, they could get derailed from something that happened, you know, the loss of a child, getting somebody pregnant, and then going into a loyalty karmic agreement, all that stuff. Like it's as vast as there is people. You know, if there's 7 billion people on the earth and everybody has thousands of stories inside of their story, what is that number, right? And so I've been called to really come back into this community, and I really wasn't able to be here for a while because my pain was too deep at the time. I had to really learn to rise above it and come into the vibrational story where my twin and I do now some amazing work, regardless if I see him, regardless if he stayed in physical union with the partner that he's with. Any of it. We do work etherically, and this is what I feel like I'm being called to work with people and do now, and what my sessions are about. And we do work in the etheric realms, and I'm serious. Like, you come out of them euphoric, orgasmic, high-fiving each other like, wow. And I know that even though he might be not consciously aware of it, he is present for it, and I know it in part because of the fact that we still see each other and all of that. And that he has that feeling. He always used to say to me, I can feel you. I can intuit you. I wake up in the middle of the night thinking about you. Am I weird? And I would be like, no, honey, you're just connected. You're vibrationally connected. This is what's supposed to be happening for us. And, you know, did we miss the boat in this lifetime? I don't know. I honestly don't know. Will we ever come to union? I don't know. But what I did know, and what I came very clear about, and what I have chosen to do, is become very clear that I made a soul agreement to do certain things as a twin in this lifetime on the earth. And I'm not leaving the earth without keeping my side of the agreement, whether we come into union or not. That's something karmically, I don't want to go off the earth. And I was such a poor victim in the third dimension that I didn't get into union with my twin, that I'm not going to still do the work. I'm not going to keep my agreements. I'm not going to stand in my truth about what my soul agreed to do, because I truly believe that we actually incarnate and that we live in parallel lifetimes and all of that. And that if we don't complete that in this lifetime, we got to come back and we got to do this stuff all over again in some parallel lifetime. I still got to come and not be in union with him and go through all of the same stuff. So energetically, I made a choice. I'm rising above this stuff here, now, in this lifetime. And that's mostly what I specialize in helping other people do. If you guys want to learn more about that, reach out to me and inquire about what it's like to do twin work and sessions with me, because there is a percentage of us on the earth that are called to take the higher story, to take the higher road, to not get stuck in the poor me victim. I didn't get with my twin, so I'm going to be lonely, sad, and unhappy for the rest of my life. I was lonely and sad before he ever came along. And in actuality, when I had that moment of awareness that my loneliness and sadness was there long before he ever came along, and in this video it just hit 12:12. When I edit them together, that won't be the case, but 11:11 and 12:12 just had very important messages, that when I recognized that, that was all present for me before he ever came along, the depth of connection and love and desire to be with somebody, and that how do we hear each other in advance, and how do we find each other everywhere we go, and how do we have love at first sight that just never ever goes away. And I can tell you, when I saw him in a store one day where we ended up in an aisle together, and he was with his partner and one or both of his kids, two of his kids, I can't remember if both of them were there or not, the sadness on his face, the sadness, there is nobody that could have looked at that man and thought, oh my God, what is he like to just get the worst news in the world? For somebody to look that sad. Like, I probably went to my car and burst into tears over it, because I'd seen him look confused. He'd always say, I get so sad when you leave, because I used to hang out with him at his work all the time. I wake up in the middle of the night and I think of you, I look at my phone, I feel so sad that I'm not with you. But he never looked sad, because when he sees me, I would say we're like Christmas trees that somebody just plugged in. Our energy fields would just go psh. And that's one of the reasons he really didn't want us to be seen together, because it was so obvious. I'd say, why do you care? And because he still was in the relationship at the time, and he always wanted to know how to leave it without hurting anybody. And sometimes I wish I would have taken a bit stronger stance on that, because you can't. It's not reasonable. Unless you have an exactly equally mutual, hey, we're not happy, let's just move on and let's go be happy. That's not going to happen. Even the kids are still going to have their timeline of coming together and understanding that their parents aren't going to be together anymore. And kids that are in unhappy relationships, and parents that are having unhappy relationships, often are way better off once their parents are separated, but it never really feels like that at the beginning. I actually had that experience. We had a lot of physical abuse in my story. And so it was just a dream not to be in the same house as my parents, under the same roof anymore. I mean, I actually prayed for it. My parents split when I was 12, so that was a lifetime ago for me. But people say, you probably don't really mean that, Diane. And I was like, hell yeah, I meant it. I mean, it was peaceful from that day on. My mom was still sad. My mom still cried. We still had lots of shit that we had to go through, but we did not have to experience violence under the same roof anymore. And, that's a little bit of a disclosure, I guess, that you could say, but it was true. That's actually what our life was like. Okay, I feel like I can still keep going a little bit, because there's a couple important pieces here for everybody. If you are entirely attached to what's going on in the third dimension with you and your twin, you're probably not keeping your agreement. It's not a small pill to swallow. I get that. I literally get that, because I've been there. But I am telling you, if you know that there truly is a higher story, and that this would be happening to you, and that you would come into this connection because there was a higher purpose, there was a purpose that included the collective, with healing aspects of the male, feminine, masculine, feminine, humanity, matrix, grids, and all of that stuff, which you can get really deeply and defined into. If you know that, and you're entirely stuck on, we're not in union, he's not texting me back, he's still with somebody else, or she's with that other guy, and text message obsession and all of that. And in the other video that I did a whole bunch of stuff I talked deeply about obsession and the program of obsession, and how it will be working against you, but how you can identify it really quickly, actually. And, you know, I think what I'll do is I'll maybe do another video about that, and, you know, just that piece, so you guys can just go jump to that video and get that piece. But I'm going to tell you, if that's happening to you, you know, you have to do some vibrational work. You know, whether you reach out to me and say, Diane, I want to find out what I need to do to work with you, and you come and have sessions with me, and I'll leave the link for you guys to do that. Whether you do that with me or whether you do it with somebody else, I'm telling you, if you're not doing it, you're staying in the lower vibrational energy. You're going to have a hard time feeling good about anything, and you're not including the higher story, and you possibly really truly are not keeping your soul agreements. For me, when I realized that I am not leaving this earth without keeping my soul agreements, whether or not he makes physical union choices in this lifetime, whether or not he is able to get out from where that he is because of the loyalty and the type of man that he is. And, you know, you kind of lay your bed and make your bed and you lie in it, as we say, and things like that. That's his nature, you know. And something is actually going on inside of his story, which is actually quite sad, with both two people in his family, with his son and her. And, you know, when I found that out, I was like, you know what? He won't be going anywhere anytime soon, because that is not his makeup. And it would be a part of what I loved about him, because he will stand by. He will be the one that shows up and handles it and manages it at the expense of himself. I'm not saying that's a good thing, but I'm saying it is in part why I love him, because I knew that if we ever did come into union, that's the kind of man I would have that had my back. He will have her back. He will have his son's back, you know, and they're health things, and they may or may not work out very well for them. I don't know. I'm sure maybe that's part of what that sadness was about when I found out recently. I think back last spring, that probably was when I saw him, and somebody said to me 8 months ago, something happened 8 months ago. Well, December 8 months ago, that's about May. And so that kind of makes sense if I went and looked in my journal, because I probably wrote about that and it's probably there. So, you know, make sure that you are keeping your vibrational work up. Make sure that you're entering the etheric realms and working with your twin, and doing the clearings and doing the work that you said as twins you would do to assist the collective. You know, 2 days from now is Valentine's Day. And there's a lot of energy, and there's a lot of gateways that will take place for all hearts and for twin hearts. And, you know, that's how I spend a certain amount of my time now, is going into these gateways and opening up the collective. And I mean, I don't even know how to describe to you, once you start to work in the etheric realms, what it's like to work in the energy of the limitlessness, where you are an energetic being of light, where you feel that connection, that yin yang portion of yourself in complete harmonic convergence and balance in the etheric fields. And that is you and your twin in the field. It is in perfection in the field. You are in perfect harmony in the field. And so the more work you do like that, whether or not you come into full union in this lifetime, is secondary to your soul agreements and the soul commitment that you've made. You know, and if we chose to love our twin unconditionally, knowing that once we arrived on earth, our free will choices could change what actually happened to us. The unconditional love isn't that you love them only if they end up doing certain things that suit you. That's conditional love. And we don't need any more conditional love on the earth. Fact. So I think I'm going to stop this video. I may keep going today because I really feel like there's some really powerful stuff to pass on. I feel like I'm supposed to be back. I was in resistance to coming back and talking about my twin, because I was like, I wasn't even seeing him. We both moved to different towns, and yet we meet almost every single time I come to town. Sometimes within 3-4 minutes. I come off a highway, he's coming off the highway. I pull into the mall, they're pulling into the mall. And it's like, we don't need, like, he lives 20 miles this way, I live 20 miles this way, and yet we still always find each other. And the look on his face is just one of sadness and confusion. And, you know, I don't know which video I shared it in now because I lost the entire first video, but it literally is, he has this puppy dog look that I, you know, kind of just loved about him anyways, because he would look at me with this, you know, he would just stare into my eyes when we would sit together and talk, and he just is like, because you can tell he's like, holy shit, because he would be having the same experience. She lives 20 miles away. How do we end up at the same corner still? For me, he was always alone, and now he's never alone. No, you know, he's never in the car together alone now. And so it was difficult for me. I mean, I would pray, I don't want to see him anymore. I don't want to see them together all the time, because the one thing about it is they were never together before. And I think it's probably because of the health stuff that's going on or whatever. Now they're never apart. But, you know, I met his mom, and, you know, and she looked me in the eye and said, you love my son. I can see it in your eyes. That moment in time was like culminated for everything I had wanted. If I had literally dropped dead the next moment, I would have known that I left the earth, and his mother knew he was loved. His mother knew the son that she had watched in a 25-year loveless marriage would have known somebody on the earth loved my son. She had tears in her eyes. I had tears in my eyes. Oh my God, you love my son. I can see it in your eyes. I got teary, and then I went home and bawled for hours. And then I went into the etheric realm and did all sorts of clearing work. And then I see his mom. We run into each other all the time now. His dad Facebook friended me, and we're like just constantly. And he Facebook friended me on his birthday last year. Like out of nowhere, boom, his dad saying, hey, you got a Facebook request from him. And they weren't in each other's lives most of their lives. So the universe is keeping us connected. And so you can get, you know, look at things like that and say, I'm going to really focus on this stuff. And I'm going to focus on us meeting our higher agreements, because then I still go to bed at night. Even if I feel lonely and some sad and stuff, I go to bed at night feeling fulfilled, that I'm coming through for what my soul said it would do while it was here. And that's really, really important to me. Not saying it is for you, but if it is, you want to start to say, how do I work in this energetic realm? How do I become a vibrational match to rising above the pain of not being in union? And how do I be in that? Like, how am I as a soul in all of that? And that's what I would love to help you do. So if you do want help with that, please reach out to me at the link below. I'll put my Facebook connection there. You can friend me and then come and we can start a conversation and figure out what is the best route for you. Do you want to get into some private sessions? I do a lot of work in the etheric realms for people that are all across the planet, and they're in the middle of the night. Then for me, is the middle of the day here, and powerful stuff takes happen, because when you understand that you're an energetic being, you don't have to be in physical connection for the work to take place. So God bless each one of you. Diane Lang, Wisdom of the Akashics, twin flame soul mentor and teacher. And, you know, keep hammering away at this. You know, don't give up. Don't give up for the sake of your soul not having to come back and repeat this. Just don't base it entirely on an exact thing happening, which for most people think if it's not union, then, you know, it's either not real, or it's not working, or you failed, and it's just not true. So God bless you. Thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Diane Lang. So